Hi everyone. Today we have a very special guest, and for most people, Yaro Starak doesn't actually need an introduction. He's been in the internet marketing industry for many years. He's a successful blogger, internet marketer, and he's been involved in quite a few successful product launches as well. So and we're sort of hoping to get some interesting insights into people who are starting out in the internet marketing sort of world, and see what it really takes to be successful in this industry. So I'm just going to start off with really just asking you what, obviously a lot of people come through different backgrounds. I mean, I know personally I came from a job background. I actually really enjoyed my job, but I sort of I'll take on the challenge and start like an online business. So what inspired you to sort of go into this world of passive income, blogging, internet marketing?
I don't know if I was inspired by it, but I think I was afraid of having that full-time job, and more than anything, having to be somewhere from 9 to 5 and not being in control of my time. That was a really big, probably the biggest point when it comes to my working life. It's not so much how much money I'm making or even necessarily the job I'm doing. It's just the freedom to choose how I spend my time. So, having a 9 to 5 is pretty much the opposite of that. You've got to go in for someone else and help build someone else's business. So, don't like that at all. I wasn't sure how to avoid that. I understood that having a business seemed to be the path, but I had no clue what kind of business. Certainly, when we're talking middle of university, I guess you start thinking about what are you going to do next. So that's when I started thinking about that question, and all I knew was avoid job, figure out part-time job, casual job, just to keep the bills going. But we got to find a way to create some sort of freedom.
Yeah. So obviously, did you actually? I'm trying to understand as to, were you did you know that you were going to start a blog, or did you know? I mean, obviously, back 10 years ago, internet marketing wasn't such a big industry. It was I would say that it was in its infancy back then, and a lot of people sort of started to get into it. So how did you sort of did you explore different options and say, okay, well, I'll look at blogging as an option, or affiliate marketing as an option? Did you have sort of?
I did. Well, blogging was started for me 7 years ago, but I had a website as far back as probably 1999. So there was a good almost 7 years of before being a blogger, of actually having some kind of online business. I went from my first, like that website was on GeoCities. So, it was a very basic free website. There was a terrible tool you used to build the website yourself, sort of, it had drag and drop, but it really, was terrible. And in fact, it was because of my frustrations with building that website that I went out and actually learned a little bit about HTML, enough to, build a website that I thought looked a little bit better. And I built up my first website. It was about a card game called Magic the Gathering. Purely a hobby. I was playing it while I was in sort of late high school and the first couple of years of university. I traded cards. I traveled a bit around the world playing in tournaments. It was my life for a while in terms of a hobby. So it made sense to make my first website about that subject, and it went well. It wasn't a retire rich sort of website, but I really learned about things like how to get traffic, how to sell advertising to sponsors and how to get sponsors, how to get other people to write for my site and create content, user-generated content, so it wasn't just about me. So all of that basic training happened in the first four years online running a card game website. And after that, I started a proofreading business. In between, there was a couple of other businesses. I had an English school in the real world, not on the internet. But the next sort of income stream I had that was significant was a proofreading business, which eventually actually became my main focus. After I graduated from uni, I eventually sold my card game website and then got the proofreading business as my main I would call it 9 to 5, but I was working on it as my full-time occupation. And I grew it to a full-time income, and eventually had an assistant come on board. It had a really wonderful business model. I didn't do the editing or the proofreading myself. I actually hired contractors and they did the work. So my job was to go and get us clients. So I was doing things like SEO. I took posters and walked around university campuses and did the internet marketing as always. Building traffic and getting customers. So having to do conversion and copywriting for the site and things like that, and taking payments.
Yeah.
And it was a great business, to be honest. If I didn't find the subject of proofreading so boring, I probably would still be doing that potentially right now. But it actually led me to blogging. My first blog was started as a marketing experiment for that proofreading website. Yeah. So yeah, to answer your question, blogging was well and truly, into my halfway through my internet life. If we're going by time frame, it was 7 years blogging now and 7 years before that almost. So yeah. It really was something that came about because I had the previous experiences, and I wanted to then basically take what was in my head and what I learned and what I experienced and put it into a blog, but yeah. No intention of actually it becoming my main business, which it did. So that was a nice surprise.
Okay. Obviously, one of the key questions for, like when people start out in this industry, especially in this day and age, there's so many different options to make money online. There's blogging, there's affiliate marketing, there's AdSense, and, like people, obviously just listening to you, back then it was, you obviously started a blog as a kind of a hobby and then it turned into a business. So how did you actually, obviously, it's one of those things like the motivation for people is what they struggle with initially. Like they get confused with so many different options, and they say, okay, well, I'll try a little bit of AdSense, I'll try a bit of blogging, a bit of affiliate marketing, and it's just like this whole world of opportunities, and suddenly they find themselves not really achieving anything because they're just going after the next shiny object, so to speak. So what obviously. What strategies did you use at the start for yourself to keep yourself focused on, okay, well, this is my business and that's what I'm going to focus on, and, take it to the finish line, so to speak?
Well, I had the standard pressure to pay bills. So I often would look at whatever was working, and even if I wasn't loving it, I'd make sure that kept working so that I could pay my bills. So, going back in time, card game website made a bit of money from advertising, but not enough to live off, so I had to keep a casual job. Around that time, I was, like you said, I was looking at AdSense, affiliate marketing. I was following what internet marketers were doing, so I was learning about having an email list and how you could literally send a few emails and have 10, 20, 30, 50, $100,000 come back to you in commissions or product sales, and that was really compelling to me. I had to always remind myself, though, that I need to keep whatever cash flow I've got going. So I'd make sure my proofreading business was going. And what I usually did was found a way to make that as close to passive as I could. So card game website, it was driven by a forum, and I had moderators who looked after it. Proofreading business, I eventually hired an assistant for that. So she handled the communication and the customer service, so it was almost a hands-off business, so besides a few hours a month and going to campuses and putting up posters. So those things, I made space to then experiment. But I have that, like most people, I need that sense of at least some security. I can't fly off no money for too long where I start getting, oh, okay, something's not good here. I think the problem is the period just before you get whatever stable income stream you have set up, because that's when you don't have an anchor point. That's when you can sway very easily. You do get excited by every single email and every single offer that comes your way because you haven't really cemented something. Once I got into blogging, and even before that with my other businesses, I always was like, well, there's a lot of opportunities in front of me in what I'm already doing. Let's explore that. Make note of these things because they may be things I want to do in the future. There may be something I can apply now in what I'm doing with my business. But file them away and don't start a project. I'd be lying if I said I didn't start projects that eventually went nowhere because I basically saw a product on how to do click flipping, and you just spent it seemed too easy. You spend a bit of money on Google AdWords, you send it to affiliate offers, and you make more than you spend. Who doesn't want to get part of that? But then I started doing it, and I realized I have to really spend a lot of time on AdWords and get good at it. Not something I want to do. It's not going to be my strong point because I don't want to do it. Let's stop. But I spent probably a month having a few sessions and realizing it's not for me. So you know, it's just something you do. But I think the most important thing is when you find what works, stick to it. That's really critical. Even if you're only making $100, you know, a month from it, but you see how it could grow to more and more. Don't be divergent. Stick to what works, and it's time spent on something that works that gets to the big results.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess the kind of the next sort of progression to a question, like Entrepreneur's Journey is obviously you know, it's a unique blog in the sense that what it is today is, you know, it's a place where people, like everyday people, can come share stories of success and, you know, what they've been able to achieve online. So just going back to when you started entrepreneursjourney.com, were you actually doing, you know, what inspired you to sort of start blogging? Like, you know, as an example, I know a lot of internet marketers who will, you know, will sort of start making a bit of money online, and then they'll start a blog, and then, you know, it sort of becomes like this pivotal point where, you know, they start building an audience, you know, and then it becomes a point where they can also start selling products. So, you know, how did you sort of come about starting that blog? What was the inspiration behind it?
Well, it changed. You know, like I said before, the start of the blog was this is a marketing experiment for a proofreading business. So not at all what it became. Purely, I didn't know what a blog was. That was the motivation. So I got to figure it out. Best way to find out: install some software. Actually, the first blog software I used was Movable Type. So that's for anyone back in the day who, you know, prior to WordPress, there were other options. Blogger was around then, but Movable Type was one of the bigger players at the time. So I installed that on my proofreading site, and for about 3 months, I played around with it, got used to it, tried to write about proofreading, and that's a really boring subject. Never was going to go very far. But I actually liked writing, and I realized that there was a community being built in the space of blogging. And I really had no other plan, and then other than sharing experiences through my writing online. I think I have to say that there was an element of, well, I could make some money from this because I was watching other bloggers. Darren Rouse from ProBlogger was just, I think he was a year into running ProBlogger.net after having his living room blog, which is about photography and his church. So it was early days for him too. He only had about 1,000 readers at the time, which is tiny compared to what it is now. But the key thing was he was showing these AdSense checks, and he made $15,000 in, I think it was a couple of months or something. And I was like, wow, okay, there's potential here. And I didn't necessarily expect what my blog eventually became, like, you know, the source of all my audience. It led to selling product, doing launches, selling lots of affiliate products, advertising income, you know, every single month for 7 years now. When I started, it was, let's take what's in the head and just type it out, tell the stories. What did I learn from my card game website? What did I learn having an English school? What did I learn running a proofreading business? Plus, what am I thinking about now? It's going to be an entrepreneur's journey. I'm interested in blogging right now. I'm going to write about what I'm learning about blogging. So, you know, there's times where page rank was just the most exciting thing to talk about because everyone wanted to increase their page rank. So we're all doing, you know, research and trying to figure out the best way to get that up there, especially because you could sell more advertising with a higher page rank and charge more for it. So that was what I was interested in at the time. I'd write about it, and then I'd move on. And to be honest, at the core, it hasn't changed. I still do that to this day. I'm running a startup right now, and that's kind of what I'm writing about presently. And it's gone from stuff in my personal life to whatever products I'm selling at the time, to doing information marketing, copywriting, interviews. I've been doing interviews for a long time as well. And those things were just born out of a desire to share more in the space of entrepreneurship, information marketing, and blogging. The great thing about it, though, is over the period of time while I was running this blog, I was also researching and learning about internet marketing. And they kind of go hand in hand. I'd learn, I'd write. I'd learn, I'd write. And I'd learn and experiment and write too. So I learned about email marketing. Let's add an email list to the blog and start building a newsletter. You know, I learned about doing product launches. Well, I've got an email list now and an audience on my blog. Let's sell a product and do a launch because I built the foundation. I'd do that, and I'd say, well, this is what I learned about doing product launches. You know, and then I can also create a product about that. So it's basically experiment, learn from it, do it, write about it, and then rinse and repeat.
Yeah, so yeah, it's kind of has a knock-on effect on everything you do. Yeah, so obviously the one of the interesting questions for people who start blogging, I mean, for a lot of people see blogging as a kind of a hobby, pretty much like how you started. But then, if you want to turn a blog into a business, then a lot of the kind of the expert bloggers will tell you that, you really need to have some kind of unique selling proposition nowadays because there's so many sort of internet marketing blogs out there. So how much emphasis do you think people should really put on something like that? Can they just go and say, okay, well, I'm having these experiences in starting an online business, so I'll just go and start a blog. Is it really as simple as that? Or
the number of times I've had people say, "Oh, I'm starting a blog that's about my journey of doing X," or whatever the case is. Often it's like my journey to make an online business or to make some money online. And I'm hoping my blog about my journey will make some money as well. It's kind of intuitively, something feels a little bit wrong. It's almost like you're writing about what you're about to do in the hope of making money from what you're writing about. And it can work. Obviously, I'm sort of a case in point. And what I tell people whenever they're coming to me with I'm chronicling my journey as the focus of a blog, whether that could be weight loss, that could be giving up sugar. It could be being a single mom, whatever the journey you're going through, if you're writing about it. And especially if I'm going to write about making money online, or I'm going to write about how I'm building a blog, you need to make sure you're very action focused. Like that for me was why I had such great content. And not in terms of being a writer and having ideas, but also having value to give to people. Because I did an experiment, I got a result, and I shared it. Unfortunately, most people who do a chronicling process, they just don't do enough experimenting and sharing those results. They tend to talk and sort of regurgitate the information other people are writing. So they'll read about how to grow traffic to their blog, then summarize the information and put it on their blog, and think they're giving away good value. The real power is to read the information about how to grow their traffic, implement that, actually grow their traffic, and then write about what worked and what didn't work. And that's how you really prove that you're more than just your average regurgitating kind of blogger. So Pat Flynn's one of the best examples recently I've seen, who's just doing so many different things. He's building apps, he's being the social marketer for a movie, and every time he does these things, he thoroughly researches how to get good at it, does it for whatever project he's working on, and then reports back on his blog. That's the same foundation I had. Whatever I was doing, whether it was, this is what's working for me building an email list, I put the form here, it works better than I put the form there. It's backed up by actual proof of experiments and results. So many people just don't do that. They think, especially if you look at a blog sort of in a snapshot and you go, well, this guy is just talking about what he's doing, but they're missing the behind the scenes, the hours that are put into actually running the experiments. I think John Chow has a lot to blame in terms of people getting excited about I'm making money, about talking how I'm making money.
Yeah, he's been famous for that, I think.
It's a lovely tongue-in-cheek reason for being famous, and he takes it wholeheartedly. Like I don't think there's much room for more than one John Chow, and let's be true though, John is also putting in a lot of time experimenting. You know, he does do things then he then reports back on in his blog, and he's just unashamed about the fact that he is making money by explaining how he's making money. So.
No, it's John Chow. I mean, obviously I actually read a story that he was at one point he was making like his blog was the #1 site for how to make money online. And he was, because he was doing, there was kind of this massive link exchange, a really controversial link exchange thing he ran. So, his journey is quite interesting. But, do you kind of, think, well, here's a guy, he's actually quite openly saying that I'm actually making money by teaching people how to make money, so it's interesting.
Actually, Pat and John are really good two ends of the scale. They
Yeah.
actually both do the same thing, but the way they present it and are positioned is completely different. And you'll probably find there won't be many crossover fans between John Chow and Pat Flynn. They probably have very different audiences. So.
No, yes, very true. So, obviously, let's say, people have, it's the point you just made was, it's really good. So people do find it subject they think they can, kind of create a successful blog around. So what's the, obviously, just looking at your example, what were some of the, traffic generation strategies you used at the start for entrepreneur's journey? Like, was it just, did you just grow it organically, or we actually proactively doing SEO or implementing traffic generation strategies to, sort of build your audience? Can you share some of those sort of?
Yeah. Well, fundamentally, the most important thing, first of all, is getting your keywords and so forth right. Like, I'm actually not really a big keyword researcher. When I say keywords, I kind of just basically mean use WordPress, set up your title tags right, learn some basic things like make sure you use heading tags, internal linking structuring, tags, metadata, get all that stuff right, get your basics right, which most WordPress blogs, assuming you have the appropriate plugin installed, whether that's SEO title tag or the handful of good ones that are out there now, you're pretty much ticking the boxes there. Before blogging, I did that stuff manually, and I learned about it manually as well. But it's kind of silly to talk about before blogging because it's that for me that was before Google, and Google just changed the world when it comes to search. So presently, like if you go back to when I started my Entrepreneur's Journey blog, my main marketing strategy, my traffic generation strategy, was primarily content marketing, and that kind of encompasses search engines as well as humans, because what I was doing was seeding content within the internet and at my own blog. And by that I just mean I was making sure that there was fresh content going on to my blog, but I was also spending quite a bit of time in sort of niche related websites, whether that was other blogs in my space, forums in my space, and just people in my space. Bearing in mind this is before Facebook, before Twitter, before LinkedIn. These are just places or sites that have come about that now have people that are in your niche. So, if I was doing this all over again, instead of spending time in forums, I'd probably spend more time on Facebook or Twitter or something like that. Whatever your strength is. I still think forums are great though. I did a bit of guest writing back then, not always on blogs. I also found online magazines. I did writing for even some offline stuff as well. So I just kind of, asked questions like, can I write an article in your next edition? Some people would come to me and ask for content. Often I'd initially say yes to everything, and then I'd get picky and start looking at their website, see what their rankings are, how good their site is, and if they looked good, I'd write an article for them. Nowadays it's so crowded online, you really need to be putting lots of guest articles if you want to stand out. For me, though, the number one traffic thing was always, probably one or two would be podcasting, getting interviews with people, because they are really shared easily. And I always find it uncanny. I think it's because your voice, like we're doing now with the video, is present, and it creates a stronger connection than words on a screen do. So my podcasts seem to cement my name and my brand in people's heads, and then they're more likely to mention me in a conversation, or forward an email, or forward a blog article that's relevant to their friend or their colleague. And that's how I think a lot of my early, and still today, my traffic is coming from. But a lot of it's search. I should qualify 60% of my traffic is search. And that's because I've been doing it for 7 years. And, you go back in time and you look at some of your older articles, they're still getting a bit of traffic, plus everything you've done since then. So it compounds.
Obviously when people think about blog as a business, one of the key things is monetization, successful monetization of a blog. At what point did you sort of start monetizing Entrepreneur's Journey as a blog? What point did you think that, okay, well, I think I've got enough audience now, so I can actually start, making money from a blog? And, if you as compared to what you're doing today? How were those, techniques different back then? You know.
Well, today I'd be a little bit more focused. I'd have more of a strategy because I just know what the strategy is. So
Yeah.
I'd build my list earlier. I'd probably think about the products I'm going to sell earlier, and look at a funnel that I want to build. So blog to newsletter to entry level product to back end product, and focus on that. The difference to when I did it the first time around was I didn't know any of that, and I didn't have the experience, and I was still running my proofreading business at the same time as starting my blog. So I had that as sort of like a cash cow paying my bills, and I used my blog as an experiment, which meant I wasn't maybe as focused and strategic as I can be now. In terms of how long I waited, I spent about 6 months building my traffic to begin with, and I think if I remember looking back at it, at about 6 months, I had around 300 to 500 visitors a day, and it's something close to that on my RSS subscriber base. No newsletter yet. I hadn't figured that part out. And my first experiment was AdSense, and I was making about 50 cents a day, not very, very far away from $15,000 checks like Darren was getting at the time.
Yeah.
So I pretty much just folded that. I wasn't very keen on it. But my experience before that was actually selling ads directly to sponsors too. I've never been a fan of AdSense because I don't like the lack of control I get. I want to see who my sponsors are, and I want to charge them a flat fee and know I'm going to get that money every month. So my next step was to actually sell ads directly, and that worked. I started to get my $50 a month banner sponsor here and there. It wasn't a ton of money, but you get 3 or 4 or 5 of them, and you're making $250 to $500 a month. And that's what I did, and I started selling text links as well. This is before any talk of PageRank penalties or searches and penalties from Google for selling text links, and there was no follow tags or anything like that. And then I did an affiliate product review as well. This is probably all between 6 and 12 months. This is when I was doing some experimenting, and it went terribly at first. I basically I was studying Perry Marshall, who is still is a well-known internet direct response marketer, and I was big on his just his style more than anything. I liked his sort of very laid-back kind of teaching, and he was obviously is still one of the gurus in the Google AdWords space. Back then, that was his main thing. He hadn't built out such a big business yet. And I was basically reviewing one of his specials. He had like a pack where you can get some CDs and get his definitive guide to Google AdWords in that deal for like $50, something like that. So it was a great deal. I bought the deal myself. I reviewed the products in this blog post, clicked publish. I had 500 readers. I thought, going to see this the next day, I should be making up to at least $200 in commissions, having 10 sales. And I write my article, publish it at night here in Australia, and wake up the next day having had a full day in America while I was sleeping, hoping to see these, you made a sale, you made a sale, you made a sale emails in my inbox. And unfortunately, there were none. So I was about ready to give up, to be honest. I had those typical thoughts. Why did I spend 6 months writing every single day to this blog, spending time on other people's websites and trying to grow my audience to get no sales? I thought with 500 people, least 2% conversion would be, those 10, 20 sales I was expecting, or one sale at least. But it didn't happen. Luckily, or maybe not luckily, but maybe realistically, a couple of days later, I did make a sale, and I saw a $20 commission pop into my PayPal account there. And I think in the next week or two, I probably made that goal of selling between 5 and 10 copies of the book, and made a couple of $100 and felt better initially. It still wasn't like I could quit what I was doing with the proofreading business or anything like these guys making 10, 20, 30 grand from affiliate marketing, but I saw the potential. I thought, okay, I can make $200 with 500 readers. Does that mean I can make $2,000 with 5,000 readers? That was my thinking. It's basic math. And I saw my traffic was growing. You could do one of these promotions a week, and 200 to $2,000 a week is pretty good. It certainly was at the time for me. So I had hope again, and I knuckled down and did it. From that point forward, though, I continued to test and made more money. I had a bigger audience, built a list, and started selling my own products. But I always have people coming to me saying, when should I try and monetize? And that I find should be answered in a sort of cautionary way. And a lot of people are very keen to monetize from day one and put ads up straight away, affiliate products, just be prepared to ask for money in some shape or form. And I don't know, it really depends on your personality. If I did that, I would have been, I guess feeling disappointed for a long time, because I find I'm good when I focus. So if I focus on giving content, and I know I'm going to spend the next 6 months just focusing on building an audience, giving content, and that works, I don't get distracted by playing around with money. I much prefer to play around with money when there's potential in the sense that I have an audience large enough. Well, I started in my students when in my coaching courses on making money from blogging, don't focus on it for the first 6 to 12 months if you can get away with that. You do need to figure out money quickly, and you can build your audience quickly. Sure, by all means, start early. And if you're happy to get 50 cents a day, 5 cents for the first 6 months, if that, okay. But don't let it be a mental distraction. That's the problem. You can play with your mindset, and you can get discouraged. You can get distracted from not writing and not creating content. And that, for me, was the most important thing. And still, even if I'm not making money, if I'm having bad months or no products in the market, I will keep writing my products, because I know it keeps the foundation there whenever I want to put in some effort to make some money.
Yeah, excellent. So just moving on, say people, what I see is like typically a blog, people who start a blog, I've probably done that to some extent myself. You'll start writing content, and suddenly you see this, these banner ads everywhere, and there's, a lot of these affiliate. So what really is there like a secret recipe, or what would you say is the correct strategy? Obviously people have to monetize their blog at some point, where, when you start getting enough traffic and stuff. So what would you say is the right way to actually go about monetizing, say for example, affiliate links? Is there like a, should you be sending out, like an autoresponder sequence saying, hey, look, this is a great product, or, is just having banner ads, is that enough? I mean, Pat Flynn, I look at his and yourself to some extent, obviously when you get to that audience, it's easier to put, get affiliate sales, because you have built up trust and, respect with people looking to, say, make money online or whatever. But people who are starting out, who've got a sort of slightly small audience, what would be the right approach to actually monetize the blog, say with affiliate marketing?
Before I answer that question, I'm just going to plug my power in the laptop.
Yep, no problem.
Otherwise you'll lose me halfway through this answer. So, excuse me. Just got it here. It's a very personal kind of question, I think, to be honest, because a lot of it comes down to, do you have other income streams? Are you working a job? I can be strategic, like I said. For me, I had an income stream from another business. I think the difference now is, like I said before, I can build the blog with a strategy behind it. So I can have an email sequence that I plan to follow into a product I sell. And I know the A to Z of what I'm going to teach. Very different to when I started. That's important because, yes, for now I could write a 5-day e-course or even a 30-day e-course and plant some affiliate links within that e-course as well. So, presently, for example, you go to my blog and you sign up to my newsletter, you're going to get my free reports, but you're also going to get a few emails from me. And I'm going to talk about some basics, like you need a website. So go buy hosting from HostGator. Here's my affiliate link. You need a domain name. Here's my affiliate link. If you're going to do keyword research, you need Market Samurai. Go grab Market Samurai. So there's opportunities that make sense because I know now the big picture of what I'm trying to teach. Going back in time, I didn't necessarily knew that. And I think it's important for everyone watching this and listening to this as well. You may not be in, obviously, the make money space. You might be in growing tomatoes or something like that. If you know the whole big picture of what you're about to produce, so you get growing tomatoes, you have a formula, you have a strategy, you know you're going to sell a course, maybe an ebook, and you're going to have a free email sequence leading up to that, and it's all going to come from traffic to your blog. If that's the case, then you can build this out from the beginning and plan the monetization as well. So I will choose 2 or 3 affiliate links, but I know I'm going to sell my book as the most important thing. So that's what I'm going to actually put in my links. But if the book's not written yet, there's also considerations there as
Yeah.
well. It really depends on your current state. I don't want to discourage people from trying to make money early on. It's such a demotivating factor, I think, for a lot of people to not see any sales come in, even if they've written 100 articles on their blog and had affiliate links in all of them. You may do that in the first 6 months and not see a big audience. You may have 50 readers a day. Chances are you're not going to get much money, if any, from 50 readers a day in affiliate sales. It's just not enough people. So, but if you switch that around and you can just say, my goal was to just write 100 articles a day and see at least some forward movement, then that's a positive thing. But if your goal was to make a certain amount of money and you don't, that might kill your project, where 6 months later, you've got 1,000 visitors a day and you're doing great. So motivation and strategy is, I think, really, really important.
Yeah. Would you actually put like a time frame on, say if someone wants to start a blog in any type of niche, is there like a set, I know recently I've seen examples of like people have gone within, obviously they claim to that they've gone from 0 to 30,000 subscribers in 3 months or something like that. Do you think that's realistically possible if in a niche to?
Well, you use the word realistically. Probable, no. Possible, yes. I think there are success stories like that, and there's some people who can hustle. They're really good, they're hard workers, or they have access to certain traffic streams. Some of the internet marketers are particularly good at this because they use launch techniques, and that's just leveraging other people's traffic. So they can really build large email lists because they come to town. Rich Sheffrin, perfect example. He came to town with a free report called the Internet Business Manifesto.
Yeah.
4 years ago now, I think, something like that. Maybe even less than that. Anyway, it was a guy who had plenty of credentials and great contacts in the internet marketing space, but no actual presence of his own yet. Comes with a great free report, gets all of his clients and all of the internet marketers to talk about it. He's obviously going to sell a course too. He had a $5,000 course at the back end of that launch. I think he did 2.3 million. I can't remember, it was a while ago, but he had a great launch. But more importantly, he got a 30,000 member email list in the space of 3 weeks. Major credibility in the space that built the foundation for a business. So it's possible. It's really a function of your access to points of leverage.
Yeah. And so just moving on from the whole aspect of networking and joint ventures, how much do you actually rely yourself on, say, if you were to release a product tomorrow, like how much of that success would you, and if that product was to be like hugely successful, how much would you rely on your your own sort of joint venture skills? Or do you actually have, would you go and sort of proactively promote that on, say, Pat Flynn's blog, or, is it?
I've actually been experimenting a little bit recently because most of my launches in the past were affiliate driven in some shape or form, like there was an affiliate program. Pros and cons, like I'm very thankful for my affiliates, especially in the early days. My own free report, the Blog Profits Blueprint, was distributed initially very heavily through a launch process with affiliates. And this is before Pat Flynn's time. It was 5 years ago. But there were quite a few: ProBlogger, Brian Clark from Copyblogger, John Chow, plus a host of bloggers not quite of that well-known status, but still, you get a few hundred of them, you get quite a bit of traffic coming through. So my first list was about 5,000 people to begin with from my own efforts, and then at the end of the launch, it was 15,000. Big thank you to affiliates for getting those extra 10,000 people, because that's really, they were the ones who brought them in. And that's a big deal. Like from 5,000 to 15,000 on your list can triple your income, which it actually did. I went from 5,000 a month to 15,000 a month after that, and it compounded going forward. So I think it's necessary depending on what base you're starting with. Now, for example, though, to say I was experimenting, I did do a promotion just recently to my own list, and then also myself and Gideon, one of my business partners, and Leslie Samuel, another business partner. We run the Become a Blogger 2.0 course, which is something that Gideon and I did over the last 3 years, and then we shut it down. We reopened it this year with Leslie. Now, we actually have run 6-month first run of that program in the last 6 months, and that's only promoted to our internal list. So myself and Gideon, basically my blog, my newsletter, his newsletter, and the results were good. We could do better with affiliates, but we don't need them. But that's because we built these lists. It's one of those catch-22 things. You might need an initial affiliate push to build your list, especially if you want to do it quickly. But once you're established, it's almost a better strategy, in my opinion, to become not as dependent on affiliates. If you have your own audience and they're coming because you have a great website or a great lead generation machine through Google AdWords, or getting on stage, or doing press coverage in the print media, whatever it may be, that's nice. I think everything. Why not? Have multiple streams of leads, but a better, stable business. So, that's the way to go.
Yep, and it's interesting because I was actually looking at some of your products as before, like for example, the membership site master plan, and which is a free product, and I was just going through some of the information in there. So what was the obviously it talks about starting a membership site, and do you actually offer any sort of training in to people who want to start a membership site besides the free report, or is it
Not anymore? No, that's the thing. All my courses, except for the one I do with those two guys I mentioned, are closed. I have Blog Mastermind and Membership Site Mastermind. They were my courses on making money with blogging and membership sites. The free reports are still available. You mentioned one, the Membership Site Master Plan, and the Blog Profits Blueprint. They're both still active, and they are complete documents. So I really think they're great starting points. And I do talk about what my system is for building a money-making blog, and then building a membership site or subscription site on the back of that. The courses, they ran their course. I taught a lot of students. I had several thousand people go through both those courses. Great cash for me. I paid off my house, got an investment property, my car, cemented my brand. Really, became an information marketer properly. But I did decide that they need to come off the market. They were getting a bit dated. I wanted to do some other things. I'm doing a startup now, so unfortunately, you usually can only get into those courses if I give away bonuses for affiliate pushes every now and then. I promote some of the really solid products I still like from guys like Jeff Walker and Evan Pagan. But yeah, they're not on the market, and no intentions, unfortunately, to have them very soon. Maybe one day there'll be a 2.0 version of Membership Site Mastermind.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to speak to you about that after the call, I think.
Okay.
So can you tell us a little bit about obviously you recently launched your own advertising sort of network, Cranky Ads. Actually, it's funny because I actually saw that first time, and I was sort of went to Pat's blog, and there was I think he posted something about your ad network, and I was sort of that's the first time I actually realized that you just launched. So what's going on there? Is it something? Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Cranky Ads, it's my startup basically. So it's something I'm very, very excited about doing. I've been doing it for a while actually. It's been almost 2 years now. I've had the idea and been working on it in some shape or form. It came about many years ago, actually. I wanted to do a business that was an advertising network and connected people through the use of a advertising rotation script. So giving people the ability to basically manage their banner ads, their text link ads, and video ads. Not many people were doing that either. And then take anyone who's using the plugin and put their ad inventory available for sale in a marketplace. Okay. Now, that's something that's available already. I'm not exactly the first person to come up with that idea. And there's some successful companies, and obviously online advertising, as much as we hate banners and so forth, it's a massive marketplace. There's $31 billion being spent on advertising in 2011, and the growth curve is literally that typical, just constantly going up. So, you know, the main reason why is because all this advertising income from offline is going online. They're just taking it away from TV, print, and putting it online. So there's a lot of space there, and I personally have benefited in terms of my own blog. And before my blog, my card game website, and I had a few other website investments I made. And advertising has been something I've earned income from for 10 years. So it's my most consistent income stream. You know, it's due for an overhaul, I think, in terms of how people, you know, are sick of banners in a lot of ways. And if you don't get the targeting right, it can be, you know, like watching an ad you care about on TV. Like, just get it over with so I can get to whatever I'm actually here for.
Yeah.
We've got some pretty cool ideas for cranky ads that I think will be different. Plus, we're really trying to build, I guess, a community around the community that I've already built, and start there and hopefully expand out beyond that, simply because it helps bloggers and website owners to make money from advertising. And also, we provide a place where advertisers can come in and actually form some very solid direct relationships with the people they're buying advertising on, and with the community as well. I'd love to dive into all the, you know, the unique things we're doing there, but another call, and B, half of it's not ready yet, so I don't want to spill the beans too early. So, but you can certainly get a plug-in right now and rotate ads on your site. It's running all the ads on my site. We sell about $3,000 a month of advertising through crankyads.com on Entrepreneur's Journey. So yeah, it can be now.
Excellent. So obviously, I think I know this is sort of it's gone a bit long, but I'll just have one more question for you, which I think which will be so obviously, you know, what would you say? Like, a lot of my audience is kind of based on people who are starting out in sort of you know, in the internet marketing realm or blogging realm. So if there was like one piece of, you know, this kick-ass advice you were to give them, what would that be? Like, you know, say, okay, do this, and, you know, this will be
the money come rolling in, right?
Yeah.
I wish I had the magic wand for that. I think everyone wishes they did. So, you know, I think, and, you know, Anshul, you're probably a good example of this as well. Anyone who really, has the motivation, especially in place when you're not succeeding, you know, that's really important. There will be times where you will fail and you'll hit roadblocks, and it's a case of pushing through that and finding either new ways to do things, or just through perseverance and dedication and getting a result. I think a lot of it comes down to mindset. Everything, I think, comes down to it, because there will be some things you think that are stopping you, like, I can't work with computers, I don't know how to set up a website, I'm not a good writer, I'm never going to be good with, you know, pay-per-click advertising, I don't understand all the different components, it's overwhelming, there's too many things. All of these are just, you know, basically frames you've got about problems that need to be solved. And there's no one online who doesn't have those same problems, but some people manage to solve them even if they're not good in that space where others don't. And it is those minority of people who have something in their head that gets them to solve these problems where others don't. So I think, in my opinion, there are three really, really important things to make an online business work. And these are not going to be what you expect. But one of them will be. The first one is sleep. I really think, you know, your body is your main tool, so you got to get good sleep.
I actually agree with you there. I think when you sleep more, you tend to be more productive. I think.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's the night owls, you know, who sit up and code all night, and I've been there. I've been making websites till 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning when I was a teenager as well, because I was enjoying it. But number two, I think food, eating right, and exercising, you know, maybe 1, 2, and 3 right there: food, exercise, and sleep, because that's the machine you're using. So you got to give yourself a base of a healthy body from which to use as your tool. From then, everything is born from your mind. So I really think education is fantastic at the same time as you're getting experiences. So take the audiobooks, the podcasts like this, the interviews like this, the books, the TED Talks, whatever it is, everywhere you can go to get so much information online. find your problems. I'm a big fan of the theory of constraints. So there will be one very, very pressing problem that's more important than the other problem in your business. And if you can eliminate that or expand it, as it might be a constraint, that's the most important thing to do. So if websites are your problem, you got to find someone to do your website, and that means your constraint is your lack of a person to actually to build the site for you. So you go out there and you find a tech person. That is your only job, the only problem, the only thing you should be studying how to do, and solve that problem, then move on to the next one. So it can be really simple. It's just, you know, you're doing so many little things on a day-to-day basis, and then in 18 months, 2 years' time, you go, wow, I've got the result or part of the result that I was expecting. But on a day-to-day basis, you just didn't feel like you were ever going to get there. It really is amazing in hindsight how those things can go, oh, that actually worked. You know, I didn't see it happening this way. It was a lot of times where I almost gave up, but I'm actually where I intended to get to in perhaps a different way than I expected. That's my experience. I made a goal of making $1,000 a day way back when I was kind of in the start of my proofreading business, and that was probably about 10 years ago now. And I didn't know how I'd get there. I knew that felt like a lot of money. I mean, $1,000 a day. Most people I knew were making $500 to $1,000 a week. So that was literally what the average weekly salary was in a day. So big money. I hadn't made anything close to that yet. It did feel like it was far away, to be honest. I really didn't, like, I knew I'd have to get some fairly big numbers over what I was currently doing to get there. And I probably thought my proofreading business was the most likely path. But a couple of years later, I started a blog, and then another 3 or 4 years after that, I was making $1,000 a day as an aggregate, 30 grand a month from my blog business, having information publishing and selling my courses and affiliate marketing and advertising. So I remember looking back and going, wow, I actually am having the result that I wanted back then, but I did not expect to get where I am through how I have.
So patience is also the key, I guess, you know.
Yeah, patience, perseverance, without being too thick-headed about it. There is a time when you need to change direction and pivot from what you're doing.
Yeah, wonderful. I think you know, there was some. It's just you know, there's so much information in this interview that, you know, it probably take me time to actually absorb all the information you've just given us. And thank you so much for, you know, spending your time and giving us these you know, fantastic insights into, you know, what you've achieved and what you've gone through to achieve those results. So yeah, thanks. Thank you for being on the show.
No problem. And still thank you for having me. And sorry about the lighting and the computer problems there. It's I thought we were doing audio only, so you kind of.
As long as we can hear you, I think that's good enough.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for having me, and I hope we got something out of this.
Thank you, Yaro.